The rise and fall of ancient civilizations. From the fall of Croesus to the rise and fall of empires, history shows that civilizations can be both fragile and resilient. Complexity theory offers a new lens to understand these dramatic shifts, exploring how societies evolve, adapt, and sometimes collapse. By analyzing the patterns and interactions within social systems, we gain insights into past civilizations and future possibilities. From ancient empires to the industrialized nation-states of our globally interconnected world, complexity theory offers a fresh perspective on the past and possible futures of human societies. In his histories, Herodotus tells the story of Croesus, a wealthy king who ruled the region of Lydia some 2,500 years ago. One day, Croesus consulted the famous oracle at Delphi about his conflict with the neighboring Persians. The oracle responded that if Croesus went to war, he would destroy a great empire. Sure of victory, Croesus marched for battle. Much to his surprise, however, he lost. The great empire he killed was not his enemies, but his own. A few centuries later, the Persians were bested by Alexander the Great. Civilizations rise and fall, sometimes at the stroke of a sword. Myriad explanations have been posited as to why this happens. Often, hypotheses of collapse say more about the preoccupations of contemporary society than they do about the past. It is no coincidence that Edward Gibbon's The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, written during the anti-clerical Age of Reason, blamed Christianity for Rome's downfall, just as it is no coincidence that recent popular accounts of civilizational collapse, such as Jared Diamond's Collapse, how societies choose to fail or succeed, point toward environmental damage and climate change as the main culprits. I've been fascinated by the oscillations of human societies ever since the early days of my research for my PhD in archaeology. Over the last 12,000 years, we've gone from small hunter-gatherer groups to highly urbanized communities and industrialized nation-states in a globally interconnected world. As societies grow, they expand in territory and produce economic growth, technological innovation, and social stratification. How does this happen and why? And is collapse inevitable? The answers provided by archaeology were unsatisfying, so I looked elsewhere. Ultimately, I settled on a radically different framework to explore these questions: the field of complexity theory. Emerging from profound cross-disciplinary frustrations with reductionism, complexity theory aims to understand the properties and behavior of complex systems, including the human brain, ecosystems, cities, and societies, through the exploration of their generative patterns, dynamics, and interactions. In what follows, I'll share some thoughts about what social complexity is, how it develops, and why it provides a more comprehensive account of societal change than the traditional evolutionary approaches that permeate archaeology. By recasting the rise and fall of civilizations in terms of social complexity, we can better understand not only the past of human societies, but their possible futures as well. In the 19th century, scholars like the sociologist Herbert Spencer and anthropologist Lewis Morgan became interested in the historical development of societies. They found a suitable explanatory framework in the principles of biological evolution as posited by Charles Darwin. Social evolution holds that human groups undergo directed processes of change driven by fitness adaptations to external circumstances, resulting in an inherent tendency to increase complexity over time. The phrase survival of the fittest, often attributed to Darwin, was coined by Herbert Spencer to describe the evolutionary struggles of societies. Social evolutionists conceptualized historical change as part of a teleological trajectory towards higher stages of social complexity. They believed complex societies to be the most successful. Complex entailed more developed rationality, philosophy, and morality. It meant, in short, more civilized. This notion of successful societies was appropriated and embedded in a wider framework of Eurocentrism and Western superiority to place Western nation-states at the pinnacle of human evolution and to provide a justification for colonialism. During the second half of the 20th century, a neo-evolutionary resurgence resulted in the postulation of societal stages of development that are still in vogue today, such as Elman Service's scheme of bands, tribes, chiefdoms, and states. While these works abandon teleological notions, the identification of distinct developmental stages implies that fundamental properties co-occur in societies across time and space. It also suggests that societies stay in equilibrium until they go through a sudden phase shift and rapidly adopt a new set of properties and characteristics. These assumptions are problematic in two ways. First, societal properties do not necessarily co-evolve, even if societal trajectories can converge to varying degrees due to similar underlying drivers. Second, equilibrium-based approaches are inherently static because they assume that changes cancel each other out over the long term. As a result, they regard change as noise that must be filtered out to understand the system. These approaches frequently employ reductionist views. This means identifying distinct subsystems, figuring out how these subsystems work, and then aggregating them to understand the behavior of the overall system. In human societies, that could mean identifying a separate economic system, and then setting forth to understand that economy, while doing the same for other subsystems like politics, religion, and so on. Finally, by combining the understanding of each subsystem, we come to an understanding of society as a whole. Such top-down, reductionist approaches have strong limitations, as system behavior is not the result of the aggregation of the properties of its components, but rather the result of entirely new properties emerging in a bottom-up fashion. In other words, we must realize that the whole is more than the sum of its parts. Since the 1970s, scholars from a broad range of disciplines, including biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, systems theory, and cybernetics, have been grappling with nonlinearity, feedback loops, and adaptation across many kinds of systems, giving rise to the new field of complexity theory. Complex systems thinking posits that the fundamental units of social systems are social interactions between people. These interactions generate complex behavior, information processing, adaptation, and non-linear emergence. This means that social complexity is an inherent characteristic of all human societies, not just complex ones. All human societies need energy and resources to sustain themselves. Beyond these so-called endosomatic needs, societies also have exosomatic needs, that is, energy requirements for material and technological maintenance and development. The social structures necessary for the exploitation of energy and resources can only emerge through the exchange and processing of information for communication, maintaining social connections, sharing knowledge, enabling innovation, and coordinating activities. I assess social complexity through three main flows: energy, resources, information. I define social complexity as the extent to which a social entity can exploit, process, and consume flows of energy, resources, information. A society is not more complex because it is more civilized, but because it extracts more energy and resources from its environment or transmits information more efficiently. With this definition, complexity is dissociated from both social and environmental sustainability. Societies that manage to extract more energy and resources are not necessarily sustainable, nor does enhanced information transmission always benefit society, as is so clearly illustrated in today's struggles with misinformation. This approach provides a clear answer to what social complexity is, but does not yet explain how it develops. Authors such as Joseph Tainter have posited social complexity as a problem-solving tool. Societies are continuously faced with selection pressures, egg subsistence, cooperation, competition, production, demography, etc. that act as input information for decision-making strategies driving societal development on two levels: a gradual process of socio-political development or decline. Let us take the example of a society faced with a bad harvest. Such a society needs to assess the causes of this situation and define its strategies accordingly. Did the failed harvest stem from bad luck, crop disease, the wrath of the gods? Once the situation is assessed, a proper strategy needs to be devised. Do they try again and hope for the best? Experiment with new types of crops? Perform the necessary rituals to appease the wrong gods? Or perhaps they appoint officials to monitor agricultural production. Some strategies can be one-offs, such as a sacrifice or an official inspection, or they can persist and become entrenched in the social fabric, such as when divine favor becomes indispensable for ensuring successful harvests, or a central government extends its control through a new bureaucratic system. Social structures do not spring forth fully fledged from one day to the next, but are the result of incremental expansion, addition, and recombination of the outcomes of day-to-day decision-making processes. Human societies, likewise, are clustered within the taxonomic space of all possible societal configurations. Current states are built from past configurations in combination with the contingent opening of new pathways of development. At its current pace, humankind will not have sufficient time to explore the potential configuration space of societal organizations that will allow us to balance increasing social complexity with a sustainable dynamic within our natural environment. Yet this should not discourage us from using the necessary long-term perspective to look beyond the edges of the current, toward what might be possible in the future. One thing is clear: any foray into the future would do well to also have an eye on the past. In summary, complexity theory reveals that the rise and fall of civilizations are shaped by intricate interactions and patterns rather than linear progressions. By understanding these dynamics, we gain valuable insights into both historical collapses and future possibilities, guiding us toward more resilient and adaptable societies. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like the video. Subscribe for more insightful videos and updates. And don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts or any questions you may have. We'd love to hear from you.